All right, let's talk about secrets. We're going to crack the code on a topic that's, believe it or not, as old as Julius Caesar, but as up-to-date as your Wi-Fi password. We're talking about symmetric encryption. So let's dive right in. You know, it all boils down to a really simple, timeless problem. You've got a message, a piece of information, and you need to make sure only the right person can read it. Doesn't matter if you're a general sending battle plans or you're just sending a quick email, the challenge is exactly the same. So how do you pull it off? Well, the most straightforward way to think about it is with a lock and a key. Imagine you write your message, stick it in a box, and snap a padlock on it. Then you give a copy of that key to your friend. Now, here's the most important part. The very same key that locks that box is the one that unlocks it. This single idea right here is the absolute heart of symmetric encryption. Okay, so to make this happen for real, you're gonna need a few key ingredients. Seriously, think of it like a recipe for making secrets. Let's break down exactly what you need to cook up a properly encrypted message. So here's the whole process laid out. First, you start with your plain text. That's just your original message. Simple as that. Then you run it through an encryption algorithm, which is just a fancy name for the step-by-step process you use to scramble it. But the real magic, the secret ingredient, is the key. That's the secret piece of information that makes your scrambled message totally unique. What comes out the other side is the ciphertext, a jumbled, unreadable mess to anyone else. And to get the original message back, your friend uses that exact same key and a decryption algorithm to put it all back together. And that brings us right to the official definition. Why is it called symmetric? Well, precisely because of that one shared key. The process is perfectly balanced. It's symmetrical. The same secret locks the information and unlocks it. We can even write this out with some super simple notation. Don't let it scare you, it's actually pretty straightforward. That first line just says your ciphertext Y is what you get when you use the encryption function E on your original message X with your secret key K. The second line, it's just the reverse. Your original message X is what you get back when you use the decryption function D on the scrambled message Y using that exact same key K. See? Perfectly symmetrical. Now, this idea might sound all modern and high-tech, but it's not new at all. In fact, people have been using this for thousands of years. Let's jump in a time machine and look at one of the most famous examples from way back when. That's right, the man himself, Julius Caesar, the famous Roman general, needed to protect his military messages. And to do it, he used a really simple, but effective for its time, form of symmetric encryption. His algorithm was basically shift the alphabet, and his secret key was the number 3. And here's exactly how that worked. It's brilliant in its simplicity. If your key is 3, you just take every letter in your message and shift it 3 places down the alphabet. So A becomes D, B becomes E, and you just keep going. And what about when you get to the end? No problem. You just wrap right back around to the start, so X becomes A, Y becomes B, and so on. The algorithm is the shift, and the key is how many places you shift. And that cool little wraparound trick? It can be described with this simple formula. Your new ciphertext letter, C, is just your original plaintext letter, P, plus the key K. And that mod 26-bit is just the mathy way of saying, when you hit the 26th letter, wrap around to the beginning. That's the little engine that makes the whole thing work. Okay, so this was pretty genius for 50 BC, I'll give him that. But it does bring up a pretty important question, right? If your enemy knows you're probably just shifting letters around, how hard is it for them to crack your message? Is this thing actually safe? And that leads us to the other side of this whole secret-keeping game, cryptanalysis. That's the art of breaking codes. Because for every person trying to invent a better lock, you can bet there's someone else trying to become a better lockpicker. So generally speaking, there are 2 ways to go after a cipher. You've got the smart attack, cryptanalysis. This is where you look for clues and patterns. Like, you know the letter E is super common in English, so if you see one letter showing up all the time in the ciphertext, that might be your E. Then there's the brute force attack. This is the dumb attack, but man, can it be effective. It's literally just trying every single possible key until the message suddenly makes sense. For Caesar Cipher, there are only 25 possible shifts. A brute force attack would take, a few minutes? So yeah, not so safe after all. So the weakness in the Caesar cipher really highlights the ultimate goal for anyone in cryptography, to create a cipher that's completely immune to both the smart attacks and the dumb ones, to create something that is, in theory, totally unbreakable. And here's the crazy part. that thing actually exists. It's called the one-time pad, and it gives us something cryptographers call perfect secrecy. It is the holy grail of symmetric encryption. So, what makes it so perfect? A few critical things. First, the key isn't a simple number. It's a string of completely random characters, and it has to be just as long as your message. Second, and this is the absolute golden rule, you use that key once and only once, for one message. Then it's gone. You never, ever reuse it. When you do this, the ciphertext you get has 0 patterns. It's statistically identical to just random noise. That makes cryptanalysis impossible. And because the key is random, a brute force attack is also totally useless. Any key you try could produce some readable message, so you have no idea which one is the real one. Okay, but if this perfect cipher exists, why aren't we all using it for everything? Well, there's a catch, and it is a massive one. For this to work, you and your friend have to securely share this huge random key in advance. Think about that. To securely send a one-page email, you'd first have to securely send a one-page random key. It's just wildly impractical for the internet. That's why you only see it used in super high-stakes, low-data situations, like an old-school diplomatic hotline. And that leaves us with this really fascinating final thought. We actually have a recipe for perfect, unbreakable secrecy. We know exactly how to do it. And yet the real-world challenge of just getting those giant secret keys from one place to another means that for our everyday lives, we have to settle for ciphers that are just good enough instead of perfect. The endless tug of war in security isn't just about the math. It's about what's actually possible in the real world.